crazy. So, all right. So I've got, you know what? I've got that it is 10:30. And so what we try to do is be very respectful of everyone's time. And I'm really appreciative of those who've jumped on. Christina, it's good seeing you. Mike, Mariah, appreciate everyone. Kelly Jane, good seeing you.
Look at Kelly.
Yeah, Masai, we appreciate everyone. So really, without further ado, I wanted Carlos on because not only is he an accomplished coach, and I'd say individual, he happens to be my coach for the last 2+ years. Yeah, 2+ years. And Kelly Jane, you're her coach. And recently, over I guess the last few months, Brian Fitzpatrick also.
So, yes, he is.
Yes, all right.
That's right.
Yes, yes. So, Carlos, I appreciate you honoring me with your time, and we're anxious to hear whatever's on your heart. So the floor is yours.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me, and Ben for the invitation. Great people I have the privilege of working with. Short introduction, I've been a coach, full-time coach for the last 10 years, going on 11 now. I used to work for a different company and been with MAPS for the last 6. And I coach single agents, individual agents, and teams as well. So, whenever I have the opportunity to do something like this, the goal is, in my opinion, to deliver and talk about something that, as I like to call it, you can sink your teeth into and take action, right? In my opinion, that's what has the most value. So one of the things that I'm working with the clients I have the privilege of working with is looking at what we have control over to hit our goal for the year. Right? And so that's what the brief conversation is going to be about today. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen with you, and hopefully you will be able to see this. Can everybody see the screen?
Yep.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about is the fact that everything you do right now is not going to have an impact really on the first quarter. By March, what is it today? 15th, 16th, 15th. The first quarter is pretty much gone, right? So we want to set our efforts and our focus on the second quarter because we have control over that outcome. And so we're going to take a look at the math first to figure out how to set the second quarter goal. And that's the easy part, because the math is just the math. And the truth is, if you could change things just by understanding the math, it would be really simple. So we're going to do that part first. So we're going to take an example here. This agent has a goal to close 50 units in 2022. And we want to keep in mind that we have 4 quarters to close transactions and 3 quarters to pen transactions, right? In today's market, you can take a listing and you got in 30 days, you can put it under contract, put it on the MLS under contract and sold, right? So we want to use this metric to be on the conservative safe side. So by sometime at the end of October, middle of November, all your 2022 production is already accomplished, and the fourth quarter is used to build your 2023. So that's why we have 4 quarters to close and 3 quarters to pen transactions. So right now, with most of the clients that I'm working with, we already know what we ended the first quarter with, right? So technically, for this agent, the first quarter goal is 12.5 transactions closed. That's 50 divided by 4. So we round that up to 13. 13 units closed in the first quarter. Now, again, I already know what I'm going to end up the quarter with. I don't have to wait until the end of March. Let's say this agent ended up with 10 units. We already know what's pended. We already know what closed, and we can already project what the total closings will be by the end of March. For this agent, for our example, is going to be 10 units. So now we know that each quarter we have to do 12.5. We round that up to 13, but we know that in the first quarter we're short 3. So the second quarter goal is going to be 13 transactions. If I'm doing that this week, I know I have 12 weeks to put transactions under contract that are going to close in the second quarter. 12 weeks because I'm going until the end of May. That part is easy. And again, if just doing the math, it would change my actions and would be enough for me to hit my goal in the second quarter. This would be very, very simple. So all you need to do is simply use the same formula and just use your numbers. Any questions about this math before I move on to the next?
Nope, let's rock and roll.
All right. So let's move on. So again, the math is not enough. So we want to look at a formula that really is the one that we want to focus on before we create any plan for the second quarter. And the formula is this: performance equals potential minus interference. This is from a book from Tim Galloway. It says it right there, called The Inner Game. And if I'm not mistaken, he was a tennis coach. Performance equals potential minus interference. What we're digging into and what we want to figure out, what was the performance in the second quarter? What is it that caused, in this case, this agent, this producer, to be 3 short from goal? Right? And so instinctively, we would say, I don't know, whatever. I wasn't following my schedule, or I took some time off. But you got to dig a little deeper than that. Because until you really identify what was it in your particular case that caused you to be short, chances are you're not going to do anything different in the second quarter. And it typically is in the eye. What was the interference in the first quarter? Now, that interference, in my experience, comes in 3 ways. It's typically a mindset or a belief. It's typically a mindset or a belief. The interference could also be a habit, or it could be a skill. Again, it's not limited to these 3, but what I found doing this exercise with clients is that it typically falls in one of these 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you examples of what I found has been an issue in the first quarter. A mindset or a belief. What do you think is a belief that is pretty common in our market right now? What are you hearing from everybody in the market center? What are you hearing from other teams? What are you hearing from agents and producers all over? What's a belief that we have right now?
Listings
Tough
are
market.
difficult. Yep.
There's no listings.
There's no listings. There's no inventory. The inventory is low. If only there was there were more homes, I would have reached my goals. What are the chances that the second quarter will be different if you don't change, adjust, challenge, dig deep in that mindset or that belief, if you don't change that. You can do all the math that you want, and you can even add more strategy. But if that's your belief, that's what you're going to get in the second quarter. Habit. Again, this is a common one. An example of a habit that can cause you to be behind in the first quarter. I don't have the habit of doing a buyer consultation. I never did. And I always reach my goal. Oh, I like to show them property, and then I build rapport, and then I'm good to go. Well, the market has changed. And if you don't have the habit, the standard in your business to do a buyer consultation and a really thorough, specific buyer consultation for today's market, chances are you will be short in the second quarter as well. Because as we can all remember from the vision speech, Gary Keller, yes, nobody has a crystal ball, but I think it's pretty safe to say that at least for the remainder of the year, it doesn't look like things are going to change all across the board. So if you don't have that habit, you better establish that habit and enforce that standard in your business. And then skill. So a couple of things about this. I remember, I don't know how many of you, I know some of you sold back in 08, 09. Today, for you to take a listing, let's face it, you don't really have to have the skill to know how to present. You don't have to develop the skill to know how to adjust a price. Back in 2008, if you didn't know that, you're not taking listings. You had to present in a way where a seller whose equity is evaporating every month decides to hire you and price it at a price that's going to cause it to sell. We don't have to worry about that right now. What is the skill that we have to have right now in today's market? If you just flip it around. Related to the first one, you have to know how to educate a buyer enough so that they deselect themselves when they come to the realization that they may not be a buyer for today's market. You have to have the skill to learn how to lead generate. And I'm not talking about just getting on the phone. I like to make that clarification because we all have this concept that lead generating is I'm going to have to be on the phone for 3 hours every single day. And the truth is, there's many ways that I can lead generate today. But I better have a specific skill of how I'm going to generate seller leads, how I'm going to categorize seller leads, and how I'm going to follow up with seller leads so that they become listings eventually. Remember, also from Family Reunion, this statistic was shared. I don't remember the breakout session. The life of a lead used to be 4 to 6 months in your pipeline before they turn into a listing. Now is 9 months to 18. And so one of the things I'm finding is we're lead generating, but if we don't perceive that this person is anywhere near listing, we'll let it go. Or we just throw it in the database and slap them on a drip campaign of some kind. You have to have the skill to identify seller leads in today's market and strategically follow up with them. So those are just examples, but if you use these three and you can really sit down, look at your numbers before you make your plan for the next quarter and identify what is the specific interference, the chances of you turning things around in the second quarter increase drastically. And you want to do that before the end of March, because if you're having that conversation June 30th, it might be too late to hit your annual goal. Wow, so that was 15 minutes on the dot. I hope this was helpful, valuable. Any questions, any comments, any feedback?
Talk about efficient. Holy moly. I think you're so used to we need to be done at 9:30 or 9:31, Ben.
Oh, yeah.
That keeps you on track. Holy moly.
On track. That's right.
Yeah. Anybody got they want to throw got a question or anything? Because we've got a few more minutes. Again, I still want to be, respectful of your time. Anybody? Take yourself off mute if so.
I'm just trying to find out where I can sign up for him to be my coach also. He got the rest of DPR already.
Yeah, right.
And I'm being serious.
Yeah, well, again, he is, I think he's worth it, Keisha. I sought Carlos out because he had worked with other people that I respected, and I could have any coach, and I choose to have him. And I'll tell you, he asked me a question a week or two ago, and I won't recite it properly, but I can tell you, a good coach should challenge you. There should be a love-hate relationship, and I have that with Carlos, and I say that out of respect, because sometimes he pisses me off, sometimes he challenges me, sometimes I love him, sometimes I hate him. But again, I've been coached my entire life, and I coach plenty. And so I respect that quality in him, because it's not all fluff and rainbows, right? Sometimes it's gritty and it's hard work, and he makes you think. So Carlos, I thank you for that. And so, yeah, if anyone is looking for, a coach to help them get to the next level, I would recommend that Carlos Herran out of Miami is someone that you should consider for sure. So
Ben, I appreciate that, and it is, that's really how coaching works. Truth is, at MAPS, everybody's pretty trained, and I would say, like I said, I worked at different companies, and I know coaches from different companies, and I can honestly say the level of our training is top notch. So anybody that you get at MAPS, you're going to get really, really good caliber of coach, even if it's not with me.
Carlos, real quick, Christina asked, what is the best piece of advice for a new agent that you would give?
For a new agent that I would give?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? Every time, whether you're new, and again, coaching teams, if you can master, understand, and stick to what I call the fundamental model of MREA, you're going to win no matter at what level you are. Can anybody tell me what the fundamental model of MREA is? Anybody remember? The three what?
Listings, leads, and leverage.
Thank you. The three L's: leads, listings, leverage. If you can find enough leads and you follow up with those leads, you might not even be that skilled, but believe me, they will start turning into appointments, and appointments start turning into contracts. So if you master that, if you study that, if you stick to that plan, you're not going to lose, no matter what the market is, no matter where in the world. I coach people in Argentina, Mexico, Spain, works the same way, and they don't even have an MLS. So that will be it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys for jumping on each and every week. What do I say every week? We didn't waste time with salads and an appetizer. I mean, you got straight to it. You went for the jugular and you delivered the meat. So I appreciate that. And guys, I will tell you that next week, expect the same. Expect the same. I won't give it away, but I'm so excited about next week's presenter. You will learn something from it, just like we did today. And I will tell you that if you're not, and I know everyone on this call, I mean, we know our numbers, or we're learning and getting to know what our numbers are, because I think that's vital when you're running a very successful company. So if you don't know your numbers, you better know them, and know them quickly, because we're already into the second quarter. So that's all I got. I appreciate you, and I will see you all again next week. And Carlos, I will see you. And again, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you so much.
Likewise. Thank you
Y'all be
guys. Have
well.
a great week.
Let's all go take a listing.